Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on end-to-end privileged access and identity security with ARCON, hosted by Trace Network. Throughout the session, if you have any questions, please use the raise hand option and we'll unmute you to speak directly. You can also post your queries in chat box and we'll be happy to address them during the Q&A session. With that, I'd now like to introduce our speaker for today's session. Harshavardhan is a seasoned cybersecurity professional with a passion for safeguarding enterprises' most critical assets. With over 25 years of experience in the industry, Harshavardhan has become a trusted advisor in the field of privileged access management and identity security. Currently serving as a global head and vice president for customer. Sorry. Currently serving as a global head and vice president for customer success at ARCON, Harshavardhan is dedicated to helping organizations strengthen their security posture and mitigate cyber risks. He specializes in implementing best practices for privileged access environments, recognizing that privileged identities are the keys to enterprises' highly sensitive and confidential information. In this webinar, Harshavardhan will share his views regarding mitigating the risks of targeted attacks by ensuring best IT security practices. With this, I hand over the session to Mr. Harshavardhan to address the people in the webinar.
Thanks a lot, Swati. I really appreciate the fantastic introduction. And welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining so early in the day. Really appreciate you spending time with all of us here. I am Harsh. I take care of the customer success practice at Arcon. And I would quickly like to take you through our corporate presentation and give you a brief about all the products, majorly focusing around privileged access management, its relevance, the use cases, industry verticals, and so on and so forth. So without wasting more time, let me just share my screen. Fair. So this is what we intend to cover in our session today. I will quickly and briefly touch upon what is Arcon, what is our vision, mission, and why do we exist. Post that, I would like to walk you through a couple of IT use cases that we solve, the regulations and compliances, and then we'll start with the Arcon product suite. We'll go through all the different products. I will also take you through which industries do we cater, the certifications that we have, the affiliations, and things like those. So that's the table of content. That's what we intend to cover today. Arcon, what we do is really we are a leading information risk management solution provider. We specialize in identities. That's where our heart really is. To safeguard the identities, we have created multiple vaults. So it's just not privileged access management. There are multiple other vaults that we've also created. And we have solutions around the cyber security and digital risk assessment solutions, right? So that's what we do. Our mission really is to ensure that we protect your ideas, data privacy, and maybe even our future existence, because our future existence, what we believe, is totally dependent on the identities that we create. So it could be your digital identities, it could be bot identities, it could be anything else, right? And to align with our mission and what we do, our vision really is to continuously innovate to a powerful suite of products. That's what we are, and I will quickly touch upon the different products that we have. We offer more than 13 products, so anything that we have in identity and access management, we definitely have a product around that. Quickly about Arcon, we were founded in London, UK. Headquarters today is Houston, USA. Our R&D center happens to be in Mumbai, India. We are international, so we offer or we sell to more than 75 countries across the world. We have number of 1500 plus number of customers that we service across the globe today. We have a great global channel partner ecosystem that we work with, and our partner here is just a small preview into what we do with our partners. Totally, the employee strength is around 700 plus. We have been fortunately touchwood profitable since the day of inception. What we've done different is we've built more than 500 odd connectors, connectors for PAM, CI, and stuff like that. And we are today protecting more than 30 million privileged IDs across the world. So that's what we are here for. What do we really typically try to solve? The critical IT use cases or challenges that we do is all things in identity, right? So you talk about identity, it could be IAM, PAM, CIEM, controls, lifecycle management. We do all of that. We have cloud native applications. So we protect secrets. We manage entitlements. We support cloud first journeys. So anybody wants to go on cloud, people are using technologies, the IAM technologies offered by the cloud vendors. It could be key based, it could be RBAC based, whatever that is. We offer all those cloud native application solutions. We have a beautiful drift solution that we have built into that we are offering to our customers. It's a beautiful solution, one of its kind that we offer, and I'll briefly touch upon that once we move forward with the presentation. We also have an AI/ML leverage solution. So we are in the on the roadmap of building the ITDR solution, so IT detection and mitigation, risk mitigation solutions. So we are doing that using our AI/ML solutions, and we not only control the IDs or identities from server side or endpoint side, but not only is the server or the network side, but also on the endpoint security. So when you talk about system admin credentials, we are able to even secure that. Moving to the next one. So, which are the global regulations and IT standards that we really look at? So, any data encryption standards. So, you can see it here: HIPAA, GDPR, RBI regulation, NIS2, SEBI. We have regulations from different countries like Malaysia, UAE, Saudi, PCI DSS, DORA. All these different regulations we do comply with. And how do we do that? Because the solutions that we offer ensure that there is data encryption, there is there is a protection, or there is an encryption during the transmission of data. There is data protection, there is data integrity. We try and do third-party risk management. We secure the cloud migrations, and so on and so forth. So that's how we really achieve that. Now, I think we'll get to the meat of today's discussion, which is the ARCON product suite, and we have listed here the high-level product suites that we have, starting with privileged access management. This is a product that Arcon has been offering to the industry since 2009. We have been in existence since 2009, and the product was actually launched in 2009. Since then, we have been servicing customers. Like I mentioned some time back, we have more than 1,500 customers across more than 79 countries in the world who are using our privileged access management solution effectively. So that's privileged access management, where we try and secure all your critical assets and your privileged IDs. That's the key motive of the privileged access management solution. The endpoint privilege management is the next level of solution, where we are trying to safeguard the local system admin credentials. Right. So you have generally what happens is when you have your local system admin credentials, say on your laptops or your desktops, IT teams generally shy away from rotating them too frequently. Right. So they would do it once in 6 months or a year, and that too when the IT team does it, the system admin credential happens to be the same across all the endpoints that you have in the organization, and that we believe or that we perceive as a bigger risk. And it's not just us who's saying that, it's all the regulators who are saying it. And when we come to the discussion point of endpoint privilege management, I will delve more into that. The third bucket that we have is cloud governance. Now, as part of the cloud governance, we are able to provide you a single window view of across your cloud estate, right? So you could have your assets sitting on AWS, Azure, GCP, OCI, any of the clouds that you can imagine, and we would have we will be able to give you a single window view, saying that through this one single dashboard, you will see how many workloads do you have in which cloud platform, how many applications are running on these workloads, how many users have been created for these workloads, and whether the rights assigned to these users are being effectively used by those users or not. So we can go to the nitty-gritties of saying that, say Harsh has been granted some privileges which give him access to 100 services on the cloud platform, and Harsh has only used 30. So Harsh is practically not using the 70. You can then look at realigning the entitlements, and you can also, and this is not just from a realignment perspective, but also from that, if Harsh has access to 70 or 100 services, and if he's only using 30 out of those, you for the remaining 70, there is a possibility of those getting exploited. And that is where exactly we would like to talk about what cloud services are not being consumed, or are they being consumed effectively. Now, the next one is Converged Identity Platform, a beautiful product that we have created. It's a unique product across the market. Now, this is a single code base that we have created. So it has 5 components to it. The first one being a dedicated MFA. We have single sign-on. We have identity and access management. We have IGA component, and we have the PAM component built in. So these 5 modules are offered to you as a single code base. These are all modular in nature. You can choose to use all the 5, or you can choose to use only one of these. It's a modular one. Licensing also works modular, and so that works beautifully there. Through the Converge Identity platform, we are able to manage the life cycle of any identity that you can think about. So it could be your digital identity, it could be a bot identity, it could be API based, it could be app to app based. Any identity that you can think about, we are able to manage the entire life cycle of that identity through the Converge Identity platform that we have. The next suite that we have is security compliance management, another unique product that we offer to the industry. Now, the first, so there are two products that we have within the SCM component. One is security compliance management, and the other is Drift. SCM helps you meet your compliances with respect to CIS benchmarks, NEST, PCI DSS, and so on and so forth. And Drift is a next level of product, which is probably only Arcon is offering that across the globe right now, where we can help you identify the drift between your primary data center. So the application that is deployed on a primary data center vis-a-vis what's happening in your near DR, far DR, BCP, whatever that you have. So we'll talk about that as well in some time. My vault, like I mentioned, we have multiple vaults that we have created. Our privileged access management has its own vault. The endpoint privilege management has its own vault. Converged identity platform has its own vault. We also have a product which is called as the digital vault that we have created, which is used to store all your secrets, your passwords used for rotations and stuff like that. On the same lines, we have a vault which is called as My Vault. Now, this can be assigned to every single individual user within your organization. The end user can store whatever they want to. So it could be your passwords, it could be your secrets, it could be your SSH certificates, it could be your documents that they want to share with people, and they can even share that with a different set of people. So the identified set of people. We will again talk about that in some time. GRA is also part of the endpoint privilege management, and drift management happens to be part of the SCM one. So these are the high level are the product suites, and we will start getting into the nitty-gritties of each one of them. Let me start with privileged access management, which is the flagship product for Arcon. It's a highly matured vault in which we can manage any secret that you want. So it could be your SSH keys, it could be passwords, it could be AWS keys, any keys that you want. We can manage them. When I say manage, we can not only onboard, we can even rotate all of these. So we can randomize the credentials, and we can do it on a scale. So I can tell you that there are organizations where we have created services. So one service would mean, for example, I have Harsh is an administrator for Windows operating system, and Harsh is working on the different Windows operating system. So let's take an example that I have a server which is 10.10.10.10, and I have a service there which is created as 10.10.10.10 at the rate Harsh. On a similar way, we could have multiple services created for different users who could be accessing the same asset or could be accessing different assets. So we have uh, we actually have configured more than 1 million services at just one customer site, and we are managing that. We have customer sizes going beyond 5,000 users. So it's a mammoth system that we are managing. We are able to generate, so the logs that we generate for one of the telecom companies that we have runs into petabytes. So that's how we are able to scale. So we are able to scale it from multiple perspectives. We can deploy it on Dockers, we can deploy it on private cloud, we can deploy it on on-premise solutions, and we can scale it as we require. So that's the very important aspect of privileged access management, because if you're not able to scale it as the organization grows, it becomes a fundamental problem for you. Now, we do all the basic functionalities that any PAM is required to do. So we do secrets management, we do password management, we do password rotations, we do screen grabbing, screen recording, and we do log generation. So these are all the five basic functionalities that we do. But what can we help you with? These five functionalities, where can we apply these functionalities? So let's start with the first and the foremost thing, which is important for any development firm, in fact any organization which has its in-house development team there, is how do you manage the DevOps and CI/CD environments. So you could have your Jenkins, you could have your GitLabs, GitHubs, whatever that you have, and you have to generate the CI/CD pipelines. So you need to ensure that you are able to manage the secrets for all these environments, because you don't want anybody messing up with these, because any problem in a CI/CD environment can lead to a mass failure on your SaaS platforms and and solutions equivalent to those. So we are able to manage all the secrets that you require from a DevOps or a CI/CD environment perspective. We have deeper granular access controls to enforce the least privilege principle. So when I'm talking to you about DevOps or CI/CDs, I can have granular access control, right? So I can say that if Harsh is only going to do, let's take an example of a Windows platform, on a Windows operating system, Harsh is an expert on Active Directories. I can say that Harsh can only perform any activity, because he's an administrator for Active Directory. He can only have access to AD and not do anything else. So we can go to the least privileged principle there. We also offer just-in-time, which is one of the very critical functionalities which even the regulators are asking today. So for companies which are either governed by SEBI, or IRDA or RBI or the equivalents of them, one of the critical requirements that all these regulators are asking is just-in-time privilege. Now, what do we really mean by just-in-time privilege? Let's take an example that you have 100 administrators within your organization. They could be uh, Windows administrators, Linux administrators, network administrators, cloud administrators, and so on and so forth. Right? Now, don't want to have a permanent access for all these guys on all the assets that you have, or all the devices that you have. Now, in this case, what we can do is, when we're talking about just-in-time privileges, we would ensure that we grant you access to a certain device only for the time that you have requested for. So let's take an example that Harsh is an administrator for Windows, and there is a service that is created for Harsh, but Harsh is not able to log in. The reason is there is no approval for that. Although the service is created, but the service cannot be uh, effectively utilized on the end target device. So Harsh would then raise a request saying that, okay, it's 10.10.10.10 and I want to perform an activity XYZ, which is why I need access to this particular machine. It will go to the approver. The approver will approve it. Once the approver approves it, Harsh will get an access. Say Harsh would have requested an access for say 30th of October between 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Harsh will only get access between that time period. Otherwise, Harsh will not get any access to the system. And although there is a service created, there is a user which exists, but still Harsh will not be able to use it, because we are doing it just in time privilege. There are multiple ways of doing it. We can give it a permanent access to people. We can do it one time. We can do it time based. All these different modes are available within the ARCON solution, and that's how we can protect the critical PAM environments. Now, think of it from a not only from an internal perspective, but also from third parties who would probably be accessing your devices from outside. Now, you may not want all of them to really have access to your systems when they want it. You would only want them to have access when you want it, not when they want it. Right? So if you want to ensure that they get access only when it is approved by your organization, or it is as per the policy of your organization, that's exactly where we implement just-in-time privileges. And once it is associated with least privilege principle, you ensure that you are not only giving them just in time privilege, but you are ensuring that the activities that they have requested for are only the activities that they will be able to perform within that time period, nothing more, nothing less. Right? So that's the key that we are able to deliver through our PAM solution. We have one of the best in class privilege elevation and delegation management capabilities. In fact, if you see the technical capabilities report that is published by Gartner, for the last 3-4 years consistently we have been ranked as best in this aspect of a privilege access management solution. So, and this is the critical aspect, right? So how do you elevate and how do you delegate the access and the management of this to the end user is very critical and very important, and we are considered to be the best, not only by Gartner. We are rated best for this aspect by Forrester and Frost and Sullivan as well. So we are right there. Now we provide advanced threat analytics through our ITDR solution. So I just mentioned some time back that this is an AI/ML module that we have. So it constantly keeps on learning what's happening. It constantly keeps on assessing what's happening, and it is able to give you an analytics about if there is an identity threat and how can it detect and how can it respond to that. Right? What should be the response to it? So we are able to do all of that through the ITDR or the threat analytics module that we have within our privileged access management solution. Now, as I mentioned some time back, the basic things already exist, but two other functionalities which are also basic for any PAM are multi-factor authentication and single sign-on. Now, these two are again the components which are by default available with our privileged access management solution. We have our own multi-factor solution, so which is clubbed with our PAM solution. You can utilize that, or we can integrate with the likes of Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, and all of them. So we are happy to integrate with all of them, but we also offer our own multi-factor authentication, which we believe is a lot better in terms of the requirements from a privileged access management perspective, because the requirements of MFA in a PAM domain are different from when you are accessing a web-based solution or a web-based session. So that difference, we know about that, we understand that, and that is where our MFA is able to cater to that particular aspect of it. Now, there is a centralized dashboard that we have. We do session monitoring and reporting. I mentioned that. So every session that happens that is taken through a PAM, the moment somebody says that I want to access XYZ device with with this particular service, the session recording immediately starts. So we start monitoring the session, we start recording the session, and every so if you're on a Linux system or you're on a Unix system or on a database on a SQL prompt and you're firing your command line commands, we are able to capture all of that and record that in our log. So the reporting becomes pretty beautiful. Any incident that happens, we are able to capture that. It is recorded. Nobody is able to do anything beyond what they are, what rights that they are given or they are granted to them. Now, cloud is becoming one of the very critical requirements. So people are now trying to migrate all their instances onto the cloud. Now, one of the critical things that would happen is you would have already onboarded a lot of your services, devices onto PAM. And when you are migrating those to cloud, it may be a repeat activity that you will have to do. Now, with the functionality that we have built in, if you want to auto onboard your devices or if you want to auto onboard your users, that functionality is now available within PAM. So you don't really have to, in a traditional PAM, what a user would, or the administrator for PAM would have to do is they will have to look for any new user who is accessing a device, onboard that into PAM, onboard that device into PAM. And so it was more manual in the past. Now, what we've done is the tool has the ability to auto onboard. It can auto discover and it can auto onboard the users and devices within your ecosystem that you have. So let's take an example. Harsh has recently joined the organization, and Harsh is going to be looking at cloud native applications. So let's say that I'm going to look at IaaS, that is on AWS. I Once I'm created as a user and there is a role assigned to me for accessing the cloud, PAM solution can automatically identify this user and we can onboard that user into our PAM. We can even onboard any new uh, workload or payload that you would have, not payload, workload that you would have on a cloud solution as well. So there is this auto onboarding capability, auto discovery and auto onboarding capability that we have built. It's not only for cloud, it is also available for on-premise systems. So we would be associated with your AD or your LDAP. From there, we'll be able to identify what is new there. Is there a new user which is added to a PAM group or to a PAM role? And if there is a new device that is added, we can auto onboard that. Again, this auto onboarding can be in three different ways. Traditionally, it is always manual. We can do it in a semi-automated way where we can say that, okay, we have identified this. Now somebody should tell us which ones to be onboarded in PAM and which ones to be left there. Or the third is auto onboarding, where whatever is found, you automatically onboard that into our PAM solution. So the hassles of ensuring that all your devices and users are on the PAM is reduced significantly, because that responsibility is now taken over by the system, and the system is performing that activity at a definitive interval that we have. Sometime back, I also mentioned about the connector framework that we have, or the number of connectors that we have built, and that is purely because of the beautiful connector framework that we have built. So we have a framework through which we are able to build our connectors depending on whichever connector that is, or whatever application that we are looking at. We are able to build a beautiful connector in a very short span of time. Now, traditionally, you would say that the connectors are built on an API-based solution. What we've also done is we have our own RPA. This is a homegrown RPA. It is not the RPA that ARCON has purchased from any third party. This is absolutely a homegrown RPA through which we are able to build these connectors in a much faster way. So when you think about an API-based integration, it takes you anywhere between 2 to 3 months. But with the RPA technology that we have really brought it down to less than 10 days, in which the connector is built, tested, and it can be implemented. So that has ensured that we are able to integrate with a lot more applications, and that's what has also strengthened the number of connectors that we have in the market. So we have connectors for all your infra components. We can onboard your IaaS on cloud, your PaaS solutions on cloud, your SaaS solutions on cloud, your network devices on premise, on the cloud, uh, any equipment that you have. Uh, Majority of the cases, I would like to believe that we would have connectors already built in, because we have a strong customer base, and these customers would have used all the varied kind of products that are available in the market, and thus we would have already built the connectors for them. Just in case it is not there, we have the connector framework through which we are able to build that, and we are able to integrate very easily. So like I mentioned to you, we can do every infra component, we can do all the networking components, we can do the cloud components, we can do CI/CD, DevOps, DevSec, anything that you want. We are able to we are able to integrate with them, because we have the connectors, and just in case we don't have it, the connector framework helps us build it in a short span of time. And the last point that we mentioned is additional connectors built on the fly if needed, and that's exactly what I explained. So we are able to do all of that. So that's in a nutshell what we are able to do with privileged access management. Just to summarize, we have our own MFA, our own single sign-on. We are able to do auto onboarding of your users and assets. We are able to manage your infra components, your network components, storage devices, cloud components, multi-cloud components, multiple workloads. We are able to do IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, anything that you can think about where you want to control the access that is granted to the administrators. We are able to beautifully cover that. So that's in a nutshell what we do with the privileged access management. And I think by the end of the session, I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody has on this one. Let me just move to the next product that we have. Now, what we looked at was privileged access management, which is used for critical assets and for privileged IDs. Now, one of the critical IDs or privileged IDs that you also have is the local system admin credential, which is sitting on your endpoints. Today, if you see the attacks in the past would stem from a server side, right? So your hackers or people who were creating these viruses, they would want to target the servers and bring the server down. But now the modus operandi is really shifted. So they are targeting endpoints, and through the endpoints, they are trying to proliferate within your organization and cause the bigger damage. So it is important that we secure the endpoints. And what is important to be secure on the endpoints is the administrator control that you have. Now, endpoint privilege management, one can argue that you also have endpoint protection tools, like McAfee and others. But there is a fundamental difference in the way we look at things and the way the other endpoint tools look at the particular problem. Most of the endpoint tools would be looking at, signature-based scanning and identification of the problems from there. We look at it from the identity lens, because we are the forefront of identity. We understand identity like nobody does. We are looking at it from an identity centric perspective and trying to see if this can be exploited and can somebody really take access through the endpoint of the entire organization. Now, so like I said, we have our own vault in which all these system admin credentials of every asset that you would have can be vaulted into our solution. So let's take an example that some organizations have 100,000 endpoints, right? Now, we discussed some time back that practically it is difficult for all the IT teams to rotate the password for all these 100,000 machines on a very frequent basis. They would do it once in 6 months or once in a year. Now, so in case if there is anything that happens within that 6 months or a 1 year period, if they are able to breach one of the endpoints and identify the so system admin credential, they know that it's the same across the organization, and then they are able to create the havoc there. Now, what we do is we take these system admin credentials, keep them in our vault, and we are able to rotate them like we do in a privileged access management solution. The difference is you may not want to do it as frequently as we do it in a PAM solution. You may not want to do it on a daily basis. Maybe in a fortnightly basis or a monthly basis, you would want to rotate the password. However, the tool has the capability of even rotating the endpoint passwords on a daily basis as well. So that's not a challenge from our end. It totally depends on the policy that the organization wants to define and the way they want to build it there. So that's how the endpoint privilege management, the first aspect of the endpoint privilege management. The second important thing that we have is the blacklisting and whitelisting. Now, you would again argue that the endpoint solutions have it, have the whitelisting and blacklisting solutions. But let me take you to certain aspects which are pretty unique with the product that we have. Now, when we do a whitelisting, right? You may even have a requirement of saying that I want to do a blacklisting within whitelisting. Now, let me just explain the scenario. It may be slightly complex, but let's take an example that you have Microsoft Word Enterprise solution. Right? Now, in an enterprise office, you would get your Excel, you would get Word, you will get PowerPoint, you will get Microsoft Access, and a bunch of other solutions. Right? Now, you would want people to install, or as a standard practice, you would want people to have enterprise deployed across your organization. Let's take this scenario. But you don't want people to get access to Microsoft Access. Right? Now, I want to give access to the entire package, but I don't want one of the components to be given to the team members. Now, this is called white blacklisting within the whitelisting, because I want to blacklist Microsoft Access while I'm whitelisting the entire Microsoft enterprise solution. Now, that's a functionality which is available with the ARCON endpoint privilege solution. That is not available with others, but ARCON really has that solution where we are able to ensure that we can do blacklisting within whitelisting also. Now, we have implemented these solutions in larger setups. We have customer base where EPM is implemented across close to 200,000 endpoints within the organization. There are policies defined, and through the policies, we are able to ensure protection on the endpoints. Now, let me give you another perspective of what I mentioned. Now, we spoke about rotation of password. We discussed about taking the system admin credentials out of the endpoints, putting it in a vault and rotating it there. We also spoke about whitelisting and blacklisting there. Now imagine that with the whitelisting that we have, we can only ensure whatever is whitelisted can be enabled on the machine. Right? And this could be a profile based thing also. So let's take an example that you have 20 software implemented on a endpoint, and Harsh is joining there, and so is Poonam. Harsh has access to 15 uh, softwares out of the 20 count there, and probably Poonam has access to only 5 of those applications there. Now, we can, although there are 20 applications installed, I can ensure that Harsh will only get access to 15 out of those, and Poonam gets access to only 5 out of those. Although they are installed, they would not get invoked there because of the policy that is implemented. So what we do actually as part of the EPM solution is, if you are trying to invoke any application, or if you are trying to run an exe, an MSI, or a PowerShell, we look at that particular exe, and we are able to see that again from multiple perspectives. So I can look at it from the name of the application, the publisher of the application, the hash key, or a combination of these three. So we are able to identify that somebody is trying to trigger this. We look at the profile. If this is allowed, we let the exe to get executed or the MSI to get executed and the application to open. If not, we don't allow it to really trigger there. Now think of it of an unassuming user. So let's take an example that I'm a user sitting in a finance department. I am not a IT tech savvy guy. I don't understand what's a payload. I don't understand anything. I receive an email which is a PO copy that somebody is sent to me. I open that PO copy because that's my job, right? That's part of my job description, where I have to look at the PO. I need to do the entries, whatever balance sheet changes that I have to do. I have to do all of that and then complete my task there. Now, while I'm doing this PO actually had a payload associated with that. This document that was sent to me had a payload which gets triggered, right? And that's an unassuming user, so they would not even understand that there was a payload, and they would not even understand that the payload has got executed and installed on their machine. And that's exactly how the malwares and the ransomwares infest your organization. Now, the first thing that they do is they trigger and they get installed on your machine, and then they gradually start sniffing around to see, can they get access to the system admin credential. Now, once they get access to one system admin credential, they know that it is the same across the organization. So for them to have a lateral movement becomes very easy, and that's how exactly the malwares and the ransomwares today infiltrate your organization. Now, let's take endpoint into consideration. First thing, my because of the whitelisting, I'm not going to allow any payload to get executed on my machine, right? So even if there is a payload that is associated with the document, if it tries to trigger, I am not going to allow it to get triggered. Point number one. Now let's assume that that's a very bad day for me. I'm not God is not kind on me on that particular day, and it somehow gets executed, right? But just to tell you, tell all of you here, we have ourselves downloaded close to 5,000 malwares and ransomwares in our organization, and we have tried to invoke them. Touch wood, till date, none of that has got executed, right? And we have done this umpteen number of times. These tests are carried out with every new patch that is released or every new version that is released, and we do this testing continuously, and touch wood, till date, not even one has got triggered. And that's the confidence that we carry on our sleeves here. So one, it should not get executed, but like I said, the day is bad for me and it gets executed. It would try to look for the password which is generally stored in the vault. Now they would not get access to that. Now my day is extremely bad. I'm having a terrible day that day, and God is absolutely unkind on me. They are able to grab my password as well by hook or crook, right? Now, they would assume that all the machines within the organization would have the same password. Unfortunately, for them, because we are using the EPM solution, no two systems in your organization will have the same system admin credential. So the username may still be admin, but the password for every machine would be different in the organization. And the possibility of two machines having the same password is next to negligible in the EPM kind of a solution. So one, you are not able to execute any of the payloads. Two, you are not able to get access to the system admin credentials, and thus you are also trying to safeguard your organization from things like ransomware, malware, and other kinds of attacks. That's in a nutshell. Now, this is an agent-based solution, and we are able to monitor Windows, we are able to monitor Linux, Unix, and Mac OS, all of this. So our agents work on all these operating systems, the endpoints, without any problem. So that's number one. Now here what we do is, again, we can also do policy-based access control, because it's a centralized solution. And I mentioned to you some time back that there are policies that we can create for every individual. I can create it for a group of people. I can create it for individuals. I can create it for a department. Whatever ways that we want it, we can create those policies and we can push those policies. So it is depending on the policies that people will get access to specific things. Um, Along with EPM, there are other products that we also have, which one is GRA. The second is file integrity monitoring. Now, file integrity monitoring is again an advanced level of monitoring system where I am trying to see if all my critical files, is there any change that's happening to the status of these files, right? Now, generally, you would see that if there is an imposter who is sitting within an organization, they would be sniffing around, trying to do things. They would be trying to look at certain files and things like those. And that's when you would see that things can change within an organization, right? So you can see that there are files which are modified, changed, and things like those. Now, when that happens, it can have an impact on your application. It can bring your systems down, and multiple things can happen. Now, with file integrity monitoring, what we can do is I take the golden copy of the file and I keep comparing your existing file with the golden copy to see if there is any change that is done to the file. If there is any change that is done either to the file or the folder, I can immediately notify the administrator saying that on this machine, so and so file was modified. And there could be a genuine reason that you are trying to do an upgrade there. We can exclude all of that. We can say that, okay, when there is an upgrade happening for the 2 year, 2 hours period, please don't send us any notifications because we know that files are going to be touched multiple times and there will be modifications that will happen to that. So this file integrity monitoring is also one of the components of our endpoint privilege management. So that's about EPM. I'll move to the next one. So if you see with this, what we have really done is we have tried to cover all the identities, be it your critical identities on your endpoints or on the critical assets, all the privilege IDs, any kind of privilege ID, either on endpoint or on the server side is already taken care of. I mentioned sometime back about the cloud governance. It's the same thing where I can give you a single window view of what's happening across your cloud estate. Your cloud estate could be spanning across multiple cloud environments. There could be multiple workloads. Workloads could be spanning across multiple cloud providers. So we can give you a single window view of what's happening across your estate on the cloud there. Right. So it will be a single window where you will get to see that you have say 100 assets on AWS, 200 on Azure, 300 on OCP, and 400 on GCP, and so on and so forth, right? So you'll get to see that once you click, say you want to get further more details on AWS, you click on that, you will see all the workloads. So you'll see the list of all the 100 workloads that you have. Once you click on the workload, you will get to see how many users are configured on each of these. Once you click on the user, you will get to see what rights are assigned to this user. And then you can go to the next level of saying whatever rights are assigned, is the end user really using those rights or not using these rights? So it becomes a single pane of glass, to seamlessly manage your entire cloud resources there. It offers risk mitigation capabilities to detect overprivileged identities, like I mentioned, because you can go to the user level, you can identify if there is an overprivileged identity, and you can take whatever remedial measures that you want to ensure that these things don't happen there. It provides a complete life cycle management and a RBAC control for ensuring compliance with global regulations. So that's in a nutshell about the cloud governance. I'll quickly, in the interest of time, I think I'll quickly jump on to the next tools because there are quite a few of them. Converge identity, like I mentioned to you sometime back, it's a power packed solution that we have. It's a single code base where we have 5 or 6 things which are included: your MFA, SSO, IAM, IGA, PAM, and EPM. Now we are also talking about CIEM. So all of these offer. So CIEM, although it is not integrated directly with CI product, there is an integration which is available. So you can integrate, you can tightly integrate it with the Converge Identity platform. So with this platform, I'm able to manage. We were talking about critical assets and critical or privileged IDs on the server side, on the storage side, on the network side, on the endpoint side. We spoke about all the privilege IDs. Now we are talking about business assets. We're talking about business IDs. We're talking about a normal application, access to the normal application, a new user onboarding. How do you really assign the rights and things like those? So once you have those kind of requirements, Converge Identity becomes handy for you because we are able to manage any identity, and it could be your absolutely a human identity, a non-human identity, an intuitive workflow metrics, anything that you need. We are able to manage absolutely everything through the Converge Identity platform. So right from onboarding to offboarding of the user, we are able to manage the entire life cycle of the user. So let's take an example that Harsh joins a department which is sales today, and he then moves to marketing, for example. I am able to do this movement as well. So I can manage the joiner, mover, lever concept through this Converge Identity platform. So this platform offers you support with all your privileged IDs, be it on server, storage, networking, endpoints, anything. It offers you full control on your IDs, which are business IDs, your business assets, all of those. We have MFA, we have single sign-on. So it's everything under one roof. Now, this is again modular, as I mentioned. So the licensing is individual module based. You can choose to use one module or you can choose to use all of them. But this is the flagship product that Arcon is uh, now pitching in the market. Eventually, all our PAM solutions or our PAM users will also migrate to converged identity over a period of time, because this also has a PAM solution, which is a much robust, an advanced level of PAM solution that we have in the market. Security compliance management, I mentioned some time back that this is a solution which can help you with, you could have multiple frameworks within your organization. You could say that you may want to comply with a CIS benchmark, you may want to comply with NEST, you could want to comply with PCI DSS, or you would want to have a different, framework that you want to create, which is specific to your organization, because there are certain industry specific regulations that you want to take care of. Now, you can either use the standard frameworks that you have, or you can create your own customized framework, and we can run it through this solution. What we try and identify is the gaps from a hardening perspective. Now, we are not looking at VA. We are absolutely concentrating on the hardening aspects of the solution. So we, through these different frameworks that you have, we run these frameworks to identify if there are any gaps with respect to this framework which exist in our organization. If there are any gaps, the beauty is not really in only identifying the gaps. It's very critical to identify the gaps, but it is also important to remediate these gaps there that you identify. Now, to do that, what we have done is we have a remediation module which is inbuilt into our SCM solution. So any CVE that you have, which is part of the CIS benchmark, we have a solution which is already inbuilt into this solution. So it is simple, right click and remediate, and that particular gap that you would have identified can get rectified or remediated immediately by doing that. Now, you would say that, Harsh, we don't really want that to be so easy for people. We would rather want to send or have a workflow where we can seek approval from respective departments and then do it. So we have built a beautiful workflow there. So what it does is, let's take an example that I run a CIS benchmark and I identified 10 gaps within your organization. So 3 could be pertaining to department A, 3 could be pertaining to department B, and the remaining 4 could be pertaining to department C. What we can do as IT teams or infrastructure teams or security teams is, we can send these gaps to respective departments and ask them for their approvals to mitigate those gaps. Now, if a department says that no, this is a residual risk, I am okay to live with this, I don't want you to mitigate that for XYZ reason because it is required for my application, whatever, you at least know that there is a audit trail available. So the fact is that you ran a tool there, you identify the gaps from a hardening perspective, you sent it for an approval to the respective department, the respective department responded back with a yes to, say if there are 3 gaps, they responded with yes to 2 and a no to 1. You know that this one, which is a no, is a residual risk which the particular department is willing to own, and that's how you have a full audit trail. So when there is an auditor who comes and sits next to you, you don't have to really scramble through your emails to figure out, oh, what happened there, I ran that, we did this, but there was a email email handshake that happened, and then you have to show that to the administrator. All those hassles are taken care of. We have a beautiful dashboard which can give you the entire trail of the audit that was done for the particular device or for a bunch of devices. You can demonstrate that, and you can you can pacify the auditors there, right? So we provide a centralized risk control framework which I mentioned. We allow to perform continuous risk management of critical technology platform. Now, the beauty of SCM solution also is that it is an agentless solution, right? So you can use it through our SaaS. Our preferred mode of delivery for all the products that we have today is through SaaS. But just in case if there are organizations, for whichever regulatory reason, if they want to still continue with on-premise, we have not stopped offering that. We still continue to offer on-premises as well, but our preferred mode of delivery happens to be through our SaaS. Now, either through our SaaS or on-premise, you can run the scans. These scans can be run at specific intervals, and you can collect the information, you can do the remediation, and you can ensure that your organization is always it's always patched, and it's always there are no gaps that exist within the organization. Now, this is a periodic thing that you can. There is also another solution, and we'll come to that, which is called the drift solution. We'll come to that as well once we are done with my vault and the others. So sometime back I mentioned to you, my vault is a solution where which is given to every end user within your organization. So every user will have their own space within the vault. Now that's a vault where they can store their passwords, their secrets, their SSH keys, their documents. Now what we've also done is within the my vault solution, we have built in a solution wherein it's a basic DRM solution, or digital rights management solution that we have built in, through which what we do is I can share that document. So let's take an example. I want to share the document with Swati or with Ravi or with Poonam, and I share the document with them, and I only give them the rights to view the document. I don't let them edit the document. So they can't download the document in that case, and because they are not able to download it, they are not able to edit the document there on my system. And if I want to give them the edit rights, I can give them the download rights as well. They can download and then they can do anything with the document. So it's a basic DRM functionality, but the DRM functionality exists within the my vault, so I can share and I can control what is being done with my tool, with my document there. So that's all. And the access, who tried to access where and what, where, all of that, and where has the document really flown, all that beautiful audit trail is available within the product that is here. This is, like I mentioned, it's for every user within the organization who wants to save or store their secrets, their passwords, their SSH keys, their ephemeral certificates, their documents, secret documents, confidential documents, critical documents, whatever they want to do, you can achieve it through the my vault solution. GRA is again a tool which is associated with the endpoint privilege management, like that we've discussed some time back. Now, what we're trying to really promote across the world is that nobody in the organization should have elevated permissions. Everybody should have normal rights, and only on demand should they have an elevated permission to perform a specific activity. Once that is done, they are again demoted back to the normal user category. Now, one of the critical use cases is where you have IT administrators who are trying to access end users' machines to rectify any problems or to apply a patch or whatever that be. In that case, people would be using the likes of AnyDesk and different solutions there. Now, GRA is an advanced level there, where what we can do is we can take control of the end user's machine. We can elevate that end user. We can perform the activity with the end user's rights and then complete the activity. So it is tightly integrated with the EPM solution. So elevation that I mentioned during the EPM discussion, we are able to exploit that functionality with the GRA, and with that we are able to perform the activity. The beauty also is that when I'm performing the activity, I'm able to record or take a video log of the entire session. So if somebody wants to see what the administrator did on the end user's machine, there is a full video log that is available, and that helps you ensure that there is a remote session monitoring there, and you are able to strengthen your security and compliance posture there. Right, so that's GRA for you. Drift management is associated with the SCM solution that I mentioned. Now, in the SCM solution, it's not a continuous monitoring, but drift management is a continuous monitoring. What I can do is I can take a snapshot of your solution. So it could be your application, the configurations inside your applications, the patches that you have, the underlying operating system, the underlying network components that you have going right down up to the firewall level. I can take a full screenshot and I can compare that with the near DR and far DR to identify if there are any gaps there. Now, this is something that is a hot selling cake in the BFSI sector as of date, and also in certain manufacturing sectors like pharma, and where IPR becomes very critical. That's where people want to ensure that risk management is implemented in their organizations. We are able to, so what this helps to you to do is this helps to maintain the business continuity of your applications, right? So you are, so when you when you wake up on the in the morning, you want to ensure, you want to be assured that all your systems are in sync. So if there is any failure, and if there is an auto cutover that has to happen, it can happen. The configurations are same, be it in your BCP or in your DR or your far DR, wherever it is, and things like those, they are getting covered through the drift management solution. So that's the drift management solution for you. Industries that we cater to through all these tools that I mentioned, we are able to cater to every industry vertical that you can think about. So PAM is a industry agnostic solution. So is EPM. So is SCM. So is Drift, and so is the CI solution. So we have implemented it across practically every industry vertical that you can think about, be it BFSI, telecommunication, government, utilities, IT, real estate, logistics, education, healthcare, manufacturing, anywhere that you can think about, we have implemented all the products, all our tools there. Um, More about ARCON, we are an ISO to 27001 2013 and ISO 9001 2015 certified organization. We also have our own SOC 2 compliance that we have completed. We have affiliations with all these different industry bodies, be it CIS, NASCOM, CSI, FICCI, ISACA, CII. We have affiliations with them, and we keep doing a lot of events with them and also educating the market about it. Uh, Most importantly, I've been talking about the product. I've been talking about Arcon passionately because we are passionate people. We love the organization. We love the products. That's exactly where our heart is. But it's not just us, it's also our customers who are talking about us. Consistently for the last 4 years, we have been ranked as the best in the Gartner's Peer Insight given by the customers. So we are the customer's choice organization for the last 4 years. We are the voice of the customer. Consistently, our customers have given a feedback to the independent bodies that we are able to service them well. We are able to ensure that we are able to resolve their problems, and we are able to take the ensure that they are compliant, things like this. So our customers are talking great about us. It's not only from Gartner. We also have responses from other analysts like Forrester, Frost and Sullivan, and everybody. Now, if you see, this is just an analysis to corroborate what I mentioned to you some time back, where Arcon, the willingness to recommend Arcon is more than 95 for 91%. I believe that's a commendable job that we are doing here in the organization, because for any organization of our scale and the industry vertical that we are in, to achieve this kind of a readiness is really unheard of, but we are able to do that. So we are preferred choice by our customer, and they are willing to recommend us to anybody, or any of their partners or their friends and colleagues and everybody. We are part of the Gartner's Magic Quadrant. We are in the Challenges section there. We are part of the Kapinger Co's Leadership Compass. We are part of the Forrester Wave. So it's not just one analyst who's talking well about us. It is all the analysts who are saying that we are a fantastic firm, and we can do wonders for them. So thank you. That's all that I wanted to present today. I've taken the full 1 hour. Sorry for that, but I thought it was important for me to really talk about all these different products. Happy to answer any questions that anybody has.